It's Christmas in Chicago, but there's no Kevin McAllister to be found. Could the Home Alone franchise work with a brand new lead, a different set of villains, and a young pre-famous Scarlett Johansson? Suppose we'll have to watch Home Alone 3 and find out. Welcome everyone to the Collector's Cut. I am Peter, and joining me, as always, is David.
You smacked my winky.
Do you know what? I guessed that was going to be the line you were going to use.
Yeah, you did?
I predicted it. Either that or I left my bread in San Francisco, which is the only other standout line that I remembered from,
that's
from the
fair.
movie.
That's I actually really struggled for a quote from this one.
I can't blame you. We're here today to talk about Home Alone 3. We're doing all the Home Alone movies this Christmas season. We've done 1 and 2, so i.e. we've done the important ones already. So we're here to now get into the trenches and go through the rest of the franchise. This is the only one after the first 2 that I had seen before. I saw this in theaters in 1997 at the age of 8. I was the same age as the kid in the movie, which was a weird realization when he said he was 8 in this. I was like, wait a minute, this guy's my age. He's exactly my age right now. Assuming he was 8 when he shot it, he might not have been. Maybe he was a little bit older, but
honestly, maybe it's just because I'm old now, but like he looks like he's 6 to me. He looks like he's like 5 years old.
Yeah, I think it's standard though with this type of character to like he was probably maybe 10 when they shot it, I would guess, playing 8, because they always go a little older because they can have someone who's slightly more mature than the character they're playing to take directions, I think.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. So, yes, we have Alex. We don't have any Kevin McAllisters here. Because I was thinking, what age would Macaulay Culkin be about now? Probably about 17, give or take.
In this movie, 97. Yeah, he'd be give or take.
Yeah,
70. Because we discussed he was 10 years old in reality in 1990. So yeah.
Yeah, so he was 10 when he shot 2, and 2 came out in 92. So yeah, he'd be about 17ish, give or take. So it was too late to use him really, unless they wanted to do some kind of like aged up thing where, oh, now it's like teenage Kevin McAllister taking on the mob or something, which could have been fun. I'm not saying that would be a bad idea necessarily, but they wanted to do a Home Alone 3, so we have a new kid, we have a new family, we have a whole new thing to deal with. Honestly, other than the logo and the theme song that plays only as the title comes up, and then it never comes up again for the rest of the movie, it is very much its own thing, just outside of the broad concept. Kid has traps and stuff happens.
Yeah, also we decided that all of these things have to happen in suburban Chicago.
Yeah, I was actually surprised when it ended up in Chicago again. I thought, wait, why should... I guess just because Chicago believably has snow at Christmas. I think that's maybe like one of the key reasons.
Yeah, but there's a lot of cities you could pick. I have a feeling John Hughes has some little connection to Chicago or something that he just like. It's the same sort of thing with Stephen King in Maine, where he's just like, oh yeah, no, Chicago. I'm aware of the cities that are there, the way the houses look, the way that, you know. Plus, this city or this movie also kind of relies on having a nearby airport, so Chicago's a good pick for that as well.
Oh, is Chicago's airport sort of near everywhere?
It's central to the city, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I don't really know enough about it. So by that reasoning is like, say, JFK in New York, is that like outside of the city? You have to sort of travel a bit for that.
You got me on that one.
Okay, that's why I was asking. Well. Okay, fair enough.
I mean, from what we saw in the last movie, it's right next to New York. You just see the skyline right there as soon as you look out the window.
It's across the bridge, so I at least assume it's in, I don't know, Queens or Brooklyn or something like that.
Wow, you're right. Yeah, just Googled. It's in Queens. Good job.
Nailed it. You know what? I'm an expert because I'm playing Spider-Man 2 right now, and they added Queens and Brooklyn, so now I know I know which side of the Manhattan they're on now. I know things.
Spider-Man 2 giving you geography lessons.
Yeah, the first game taught me where Hell's Kitchen was. And I was like, oh, this is... And Harlem's up at the north of Manhattan. I'm learning things. Anyway, yes, we're going to start spoiler-free, of course, as we always do for Home Alone 3, and we'll get into it. So unlike the first 2 movies, which was, 2 small-time crooks who were just breaking into houses, this time we have 4 spies who are trying to smuggle stolen experimental technology for fighter planes or something, and their smuggled computer chip gets swapped at the airport by accident to some old woman, which leads it to the hands of our main character Alex, and that is they come looking for it, and that's the setup of the movie. I'll leave it there. We'll go into the rest in spoilers, but David, you look distressed.
Just based off of what you're saying, like I did what I normally do. I had never seen Home Alone 3, at least within memory. I did what I always do, and I didn't look into it. I didn't research anything. I just looked where I could watch it, and then I watched it. And the fact that this movie opens in like the supervillain lair in Hong Kong saying, I need this chip for my missile defense system. I'm like, what am I watching? What in the hell is going on?
It's certainly a different tone to begin with.
Yes.
I'll say that for sure. It's got Scarlett Johansson in it as the sister of the main character, and I just checked to see, is this can they at least say this is the first Scarlett Johansson film? It's not. She was in like 4 things before this, so it's not even got that distinction going for it. But anyway,
probably the biggest she did up to that point.
Yeah, it's probably the biggest thing she'd done by 1997, but you know, it's only 4 short years later where I think Lost in Translation is coming out into the world. So
wow, that was 40. Damn, all right.
Yeah, 2001. I think I'm right in saying that.
That's incredible.
It was about maybe it was like a year or two out later than I'm thinking, but it was, it wasn't too, if it's not 4 years, it's 5 or 6.
It was 2003 when it came out. Yeah.
Okay, so 6 years later. Okay, I was slightly off.
Yeah, still, I guess that's just one of those things where she is absolutely, in my mind, again, being 30 now, a child. She looks like she's 10, like maybe 12.
In this movie, obviously in real life, she's older than both of us. But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Although I think Ghost World was like 2000, so that was bigger than, well, I don't know if you'd say it's bigger than this in terms of like name recognition, but it's certainly in the film circles, it's a bigger movie than Home Alone 3.
I think it's the biggest thing that Lost in Translation is the one that pushed her into stardom more than Ghost World would have.
No, I meant compared to Home Alone 3, not obviously Lost in Translation is definitely bigger, and then obviously from there she was just a star in things.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we have Raja Gosnell, the director, and I recognize that name. It's because he directed Big Mama's House and the Scooby-Doo live-action movies.
I looked through his entire director's filmography, and I was like, yeah, this makes sense. This makes sense that this guy's on this one.
I've never seen, say, the Smurfs movies that came out in the 2010s or Beverly Hills Chihuahua, but it feels like it's in his repertoire based on what I
have seen Beverly Hills Chihuahua. Yep.
So, yeah, it's got that going for it. All right, David, what did you think of Home Alone 3? Just rip off the plaster. Let's do it. You loved
Roger Ebert claims that this was his favorite Home Alone movie. I'm not making that up. He liked this more than the first 2 Home Alone movies. And I don't want to say that I know more than Roger Ebert, but he's just wrong. Like, there's no way that this is the better Home Alone movie. If I really had to nail it down, this movie is specifically made for the people who think, hey, that third act where it's all the traps and stuff, that's too short. And I don't care about this ooey gooey Christmas stuff. Just make the whole movie more traps. And if you like that, great. I'm sure it's a great movie for you. But for me, this is just, it's a parody of what Home Alone is. It's like you hand this off to somebody who's only heard the cliff notes of Home Alone, of kid stops burglars from breaking into house, and he writes a whole movie based off that. So not a huge fan, Pete. How about you?
I think Ebert every year had one movie he was just absurdly wrong about. Like, just every year there'd be one movie where he's just clearly not quite right. Anyway, it's not good. I think it's fair to say. It does feel like a shallow echo of the previous 2 movies. Like, there's a couple things you can kind of say they're trying to do this kind of bit again, or they're trying to do that thing again. But the big thing for me is cartoony as we said Home Alone 2's traps were compared to the first movie. This takes it in such a cartoony direction. That not even just cartoony in like they should be dead based on the things that are happening, but even just like some of the setup that has to go into this that it feels a little bit more contrived that they even set off some of the traps. But the amount of setup where I'm like, no, this would take a team of people like 3 days to set this up, and this kid has done it in a morning, by the sounds of it. So that stuff, it just feels kind of off. The kid doesn't have the same charisma that Macaulay Culkin did. I think it's fair to say. And I was sort of hinting at this in the last review, but it does bug me that in this movie, he's not actually left home alone beyond just you're staying home while mum goes to work. You know, he's off school sick. In fact, he's got the chicken pox. That's the setup of the movie. And because his mum's a hardworking mum and the dad's away in business, he has to get left during the day. But he's not actually there for the, because the whole premise of Home Alone is that he's there, abandoned effectively for several days. And it just not having that element feels kind of like it takes a lot of the he's alone and vulnerable stakes away from it to me. So we'll get into all the specifics and all that as we go into spoilers, but there's something missing about the magic of what Home Alone actually is.
I think the biggest problem in terms of what you're saying of magic is that this movie does not need to be set at Christmas time. In fact, it barely is. It's set in winter, there is snow, and that's required, but I don't think there's a single thing in this movie that's definitively Christmas themed, and there's definitely none of that heartfelt joy and all that really went into the first two movies.
It is Christmas time and there's some Christmas lights around, but that's about it. There's not it's never really factored into the plot. Yeah.
Right.
So that's a problem. And then the other problem as well is, Marv and Harry are such a big part of why Home Alone works, right? And they're so entertaining. And we've got 4 villains I said 3 last time. It was even more than I remembered. It's 4 of the bloody guys. Well, and woman. And honestly, I feel like the tone of these villains is so all over the place because the opening of the movie treats them so seriously, and maybe the director and the writer or whoever are going for this thing where it's these proper villains in the super spy world who are going to that's the funny thing is they're going to meet their match when they end up against this kid who they underestimate. But honestly, it just felt like there was wild tone shifts because they were treating these guys like they were actually out of a spy movie. So when the hijinks start happening to them, it just feels weird. And on top of that, like I said, the kid doesn't have the charisma of Macaulay Culkin. These villains are so just plain and lacking any of the character that Marv and Harry had. It's just impossible to enjoy them getting the shit kicked out of them by the traps. It's like you were saying at the very beginning of the movie, it's setting up as if it's like this spy thriller thing going on, and they're played as hyper competent the whole way through. But then as soon as we get to the point where the traps start happening, they're all just the same idiot. It's not even like the Marv and Harry where they have these different personalities that one is, small but tough. He's angry and he's gritty and whatnot. And then the other one's more of the slapstick goofball. They're all just the same. They're all just the same character pasted 4 times over. The only difference is that they're kind of given the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles treatment where there's a leader, there's a smart one, there's a goofball, and instead of Raphael, there's a woman. And that's it. Yeah, they're giving it a little bit of character before the trap stuff, just in so much that one's kind of the dumb aggressive one, I guess, with the long hair. You've got the smart guy who's got a lot of tech. He's got cameras and he hacks into things.
Which I have, I don't want, I'm not even going to say it after this point, but I'm just, throughout this entire movie, they stretched the bounds of what 1997 tech could possibly be.
There's a moment early on where he's got a little camera in his glove and he takes a photograph of a license plate and then he pulls out a little screen.
Palm Pilot.
Yeah, and it's got this perfect photo of this license plate and I'm like, you know what, obviously today that's nothing. Any one of us can take a photo on their phone and it'll look on the screen, it'll look high resolution, all the rest of it. But this is 1997, so I'm questioning the believability of him getting an instant photograph on this screen in his pocket.
I'm not even questioning that. I'm questioning the fact that his thing had a backlight at all. Like, all the other
that's
stuff
fair.
is too much. And on top of that, he's able to see it in the middle of the night? Nah, screw you. Not possible.
Yeah, there's some of that going on. Yeah, I mean, one stretching it out to 4 characters might be part of the problem. I guess the reasoning was, oh, there's more people to torture with traps. I guess that's the idea. But all of this does stretch, again, the believability of, okay, it's one thing 2 idiots like Marv and Harry, like, not being able to outsmart Kevin McAllister, but now you've got 4 people who, like you said, up until a certain point in the movie, are portrayed as competent super spies who are cracking alarm systems, and they're surveying places, and they feel like a team who know what they're doing.
They have the ability to intercept phone calls from a house that they've never even interacted with. There's a point much later in this movie where an FBI agent says that he has been looking for these people for 7 years, and they've always managed to escape. No, that's too competent. That's too much. You need to have someone like the sticky/wet bandits in order to be someone that's on the level of a child.
I might have accepted if we got a third one with Kevin McAllister, if you give him more competent opponents and say, no, he's leveled up because he's done this twice already. So now it's like, this is a real challenge again because he's taken on someone more competent. I can maybe live with that. I could maybe get into the fun of that. But the problem is that even on the kids side, though, I feel like in the first 2 movies, I feel like by the time we get to that point, just before Act 2 ends, where Kevin McAllister's making the choice to like defend the house, it feels like a big deal with the movies ramped up to that point, and you understand why he's making that decision. In this movie, this kid, it feels like it's just like, well, I guess I'm just going to have some traps tomorrow. I'm just going to. I made the choice to do that now, and I'm like, okay.
I'm just a bored kid home from school. What would you do? Clearly, it's booby trap your entire house. And I think the other issue is structurally the whole movie's changed where that realization happens 45 minutes into this hour-and-a-half movie. It's not the third act. It's
halfway through.
Like halfway through, yeah.
Plus, even just in sense that they all just feel a lot more hijinksy this time, where, like, I don't know, it's tough to say, but it never feels like there's any stakes. And I know you're saying, did Home Alone 1 and 2 have stakes? Did you ever believe Kevin was in trouble? I mean, not really, but it still always felt like there was stakes to him. Whereas here, this kid never seems concerned that 4 people who all, I think, have guns, he never seems remotely worried or concerned, really. He just kind of gets on with business. It's very weird. So,
I mean, it's also throughout this and throughout the entire third act, like you said, they all have guns and such, but I don't feel like there was any point where he felt like he was in danger.
No.
There was, in every other one of the Home Alone movies, they take the time to show him like being in a position where there was trouble at some point. Throughout this whole thing, he was in control completely.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it was usually towards the end of the trap section where, okay, he's actually in a little bit of danger now. But something as simple as Marv grabbing his foot, and it's like, oh shit, he's actually maybe caught, had a little bit of weight to it. Whereas here, there's nothing like that. It never feels like that at all. And there's some giant just nonsense that, like the movie's asking me to believe certain things, like, you know, someone wouldn't be able to tell the weight difference between a real gun and a toy gun. Like, it's just absurd. No, guns are heavy, okay? They're made of metal. They are heavy things. Plastic guns are very, very light. There is no way that this super assassin spy man is going to pick up a toy gun and be remotely convinced that he's holding his gun.
Also, and I think this is just poor writing in general, but obviously they could not help themselves from doing the vocal tricks throughout the movie, whereas before we've been using the movies.
Yeah, but they take it in a whole new direction.
Yeah. I think this is like the worst writing thing that you could have done in order to make it, like, I don't know, more hip? Is that what they were going for? Cooler with the kids?
No,
I don't know.
It's not cooler. A parrot who's just, like, a parrot repeats things. A parrot does not actually hold conversations, but the parrot in this movie...
Parrots. That's the whole thing.
Yeah. He's also got a mouse that he... It's his pet that he talks to all the time. Yes. So there's a lot of goofier kid shit in this, and the movie by the end just embraces that wholeheartedly in a way that, like, even as a kid though, this felt lame. This is not something that like is only not working for us because we're adults. When I saw this at 8 years old, it felt lame compared to the first two. So anyone who says like, oh, it's a kids movie, it doesn't matter. No, it does. Kids like notice this shit. Like, there's some stuff you get away with in kids movies, but there's a lot of things that even if the kid can't tell you why it's shit, they are noticing it and saying and will feel that it's shit. So, you know, these things still do matter. As far as the cast goes, other than the kids, obviously you've got Alex, you've got his sister played by ScarJo, you've got a brother as well who's kind of Buzz but not Buzz. Basically.
It's both of the older siblings here kind of are just Buzz, but they're split now between the two of them. Yeah.
Not a lot of variation there. I could not say I recognized any of the actors who played the bad guys. I did recognize Alex's mum, and I was like, what's she from? She's in Gremlins 2. That's where I know her from.
She was in 16 Candles as well. She had a few John Hughes things going on.
I haven't seen that one, but that makes sense that she popped up in this then. And I guess the neighbor, who's the old lady, it does seem kind of familiar. I never actually looked into her, but
I looked into her. I didn't notice her from anything, but she does have a very large career. So
yeah, she's probably popped up.
Could be anything
here or there.
Yeah.
So that's basically the cast. There's not really anyone else to go into.
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously Scarlett Johansson, as we already said. The only other character that was of any note that I actually did recognize was the first police officer on the scene was Neil Flynn, who...
Oh, yeah, I know his face, yeah.
Yeah, he's just been around in a bunch of stuff. You know him from, like, TV shows and such. Most recently on this show, he was in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull as an FBI agent, so...
He's on Scrubs, right?
Yeah, he's a janitor on Scrubs.
Yeah, so... Yeah, that's it. That's what you've got face-wise. Yep. Oh, actually, the FBI guy that they kind of bring in eventually, he looked familiar. I'm just going to click on him to see what I know him from. Oh, he was in Chud. That's not what I was thinking. There's definitely something more mainstream that he's been in. Although I have seen Chud. Oh, he was in Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen, apparently.
Just as a news guy, it looks like. I don't think that's a notable role.
I think I recognize his face though, so maybe it is just these small appearances and things, or Starship Troopers. Oh no, yeah, Mr. Rico in Starship Troopers. He's the dad of the main character in Starship Troopers.
Okay.
There you go. Oh, he was in an episode of Babylon 5. Yeah, I've definitely just seen him and stuff around then.
Okay.
Oh, he was in Bushwhacked starring Daniel Stern. Funnily enough.
Tiny little connections that make the whole Kevin Bacon thing work out.
That's all I got for you. That's all. That's
fine. I mean, I looked through half these people. I didn't recognize them. The one that really stuck out to me was the dad. His actor's name is Kevin Kilner. Didn't recognize him in anything, but he seemed to be like the perfect blend of Nathan Fillion and David Harbour for me. Like every time I looked at him, he was looking like one or the other. And I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't think I got that necessarily. He did. Yeah, again, he seemed vaguely familiar, so he's probably popped up in a guest spot in a TV show that I've seen, kind of thing.
That's fair.
Yeah, he was in House of Cards for a couple episodes apparently.
Okay,
that's a relatively big thing.
I don't remember him, but so be it.
Yeah, I mean, I only saw some of that show. I don't know if I saw the episodes he was in. I'm just
right,
you know. American Pie 2. He played Dad. Dad of who? There was lots of fathers in that movie.
I was going to say, that's an entire thing based around a bunch of kids, right?
I mean, Eugene Levy is the main dad in American Pie, so I don't know who Dad is, but
he's not within the top 16 builds, so I'm going to say not an important dad.
I would say that's a fair assumption to make.
Yep.
Anywho,
yes.
that's the cast. Spoilers, everyone, because I don't have anything left to say without spoilers at this point.
The only other thing, because this is always saved right before spoilers, no John Williams music. He's not at all.
Well, here. Other than them using the main theme at the start,
right.
But other than that, it's all new music and it's all forgettable.
Yeah. It's not only all new music in terms of score. We also work in some licensed weird radio punk songs in the middle, which just are the worst.
That's the setting
I could not stand them.
That's the setting up the trap montage. You get the punk song comes in.
Yep, and then it plays out to credits as well, just in case you didn't get enough of it the first time around.
All right. Well, spoilers, everyone. Home Alone 3. We start with a shady business deal, which later on we find out is something to do with North Korea. But our four villains are tasked with getting this super secret computer chip from someone in the Air Force, which they get early on, and they're going to because what city are they in to start with? Must be San Francisco, based on everything else.
The very first thing is in Hong Kong, and then they go to San Francisco for the chip.
And they get the chip and they hide it in a toy car, because it's the idea that they'll go through the airport security, and when they scan the toy car, it'll make sense that there's computer chips in there because it's a remote control car. Fair enough. And they do all that, but the hiccup comes when they've got the bag that it's in. There's an identical bag on the conveyor, and somehow it ends up in front of the other woman who's behind them, or vice versa, whatever way it works out.
They're held up at the metal detector gate because someone in front of them beeps, so then the other woman on the other side gets to go through faster. Yes,
which turns out to be the neighbor across the street of our main family, but she picks up the wrong bag with the toy car in it, and we get this whole sequence of them running around the airport trying to find this bag and the woman that took it, and they set up that one of them's a bit of a goofball because he just checks the bathroom and says, there was nothing in there when I was taking a dump.
Right.
That's the notable thing I've got for these characters. Basically, they look up at the board and see, okay, they're on a plane that's leaving right now. The only thing that's boarding at this moment is a flight to Chicago. We're going to Chicago. So these spies follow this woman, and somehow, despite the fact that they're already through security and where you book your flights, they somehow get on the same flight to Chicago.
And as we find out later, the FBI, in trying to track them down, notes that they already had tickets bought for Hong Kong, but they didn't board. So somehow, while already past everything, they bought new tickets for that flight that was already boarding, and then made their way on the plane. But sure, movie, do what you gotta do.
Is this better or worse than all the plane nonsense in the first two?
This is worse just because it's not tight at all. Like, they didn't think through the ramifications of what they were doing. They were just like, we need to somehow get them to Chicago and following this lady. And they just did the most bare bones level. Like, if you went through what they went through, where they said they looked at 3 different gates, they looked at a couple of extra places, and the bathroom, do you think the next logical jump would be, it must be on the only boarding plane in the entirety of O'Hare?
I mean, that was a leap. I agree. Yeah. But just the idea that they follow this woman all the way to Chicago on the same flight, and then they don't catch her in time, but they see what the cab she gets into. So then they track down this cab later and ask the driver, who just gives out the information without second thought.
Yeah.
It's like, where did this old broad live? Oh, here, she had lights and blah, blah, blah. And so they find the street and they're like, okay, we don't know which house it is, because the one clue that gave away the house was that it was the only driveway that wasn't shoveled. But as when we get to the house, we find out that young Alex has been hired to shovel her driveway. So when they get there, they're all shoveled. It's like, okay, it's in one of these houses, so they've got a reason to search every house on the street starting the next day. And that sets up the plot of the movie.
And then they specifically say, rather than waiting for night, as the bandits would have, they are going to go during the day, because in modern suburbia, nobody's at home in the daytime.
Except our neighbor character, who is a retired person, will probably be home every day, because...
You'd think that there would just be like a couple of people on a 14-house street, I think they said. I mean, there's at least going to be one person home.
And I get that our main family has 2 working parents, but there's no housewives at all in this street.
Not a single one. Hey, this is the late 90s, Pete. We got working women now. We got... Get out of your 80s mindset.
Okay, house husband. I mean, I'm just saying, the chances that all 14 or 18 houses, whatever the number was, the idea that there's not one person who's typically expected to be home, and we already know there's one, because there's the retired woman who lives across the street who's at home most of the time. But the idea that even in the regular families, there's not one person who it makes sense to be home during the day is a bit far-fetched.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously, young Alex is gifted this toy car because this woman doesn't want it. She's like, well, I got a fancy loaf of bread that I wanted to make a sandwich with, and I don't have that anymore, but this stupid toy car is here instead, so you can have it.
Can we just point out how much of a bitch this woman is for just no discernible reason?
Oh, so instead of having the old person who he's scared of, here's the old person who just hates his guts. But by the end, because he saves her life, she's going to turn around and say, you know what, you're actually an okay kid. That's the plot.
That's all I can picture in my mind is the last two movies where we go through this whole thing of like, oh no, I was wrong about you. You've done this thing, and they go through this whole emotional opening up to each other. Even the bird lady one that we didn't like as much, it's still this emotional opening up to each other. All we get in this movie from an emotional climax is, so you're not a little like craphead of a kid. You're just a normal good kid. Great.
Well,
then that's it.
It also feeds into this idea that this kid's never scared of anything, really. He has a little fright the first time he sees him breaking into a house and goes to call the police, but like he's never really scared of anything, so therefore he never overcomes anything. Whereas, Kevin in the first two movies, he overcomes stuff. He has a challenge. There's an arc there. This kid is just like, well, I guess I'll just do stuff then, and then that leads to doing the whole trap stuff in the back half of the movie. This part of the movie, though, we're just introduced to him, we're introduced to his family. He has the chicken pox, so he's staying home from school. The mum tries to stay home with him, but she's getting called into work because it's a really tough working world out there.
Can we talk about the scene, the strange collection of lines as soon as he finds out he has chicken pox? So he's in the bathroom, he screams, and then Scarlett Johansson's immediate reaction is, Alex slammed his thing in the toilet again. And then everyone in the family just kind of accepts, yeah, that's probably what happened, as they all go to check on Alex.
Which I guess means he probably more than once, because it might just it could just be once because the scream might be similar, I suppose, but
it's the same scream.
Yeah, but this idea that he at some point, because of his height and where he's standing, he's slammed the toilet seat down and not made sure that the space was clear, shall we say. I mean, I feel like I zip up before I move anything myself. But
I mean, I can't say as an 8-year-old what my order of operations was in the bathroom.
I mean, I don't know what I was doing when I was 8.
I think it's more so the idea that this is them trying to do that sort of humiliation thing that the families in the first two movies did.
Yes.
Where they're playing on this thing of just like, oh, stupid little Alex, unable to do anything right. But he didn't. He didn't do that thing. He just has chickenpox. And it just feels kind of weird that they're still so mean to him having chickenpox.
Yeah, and the big thing is that obviously once the mum does leave for the day and he's just got a hobby of looking out the attic with a telescope, and that's how he catches the bad guys in the other house, he immediately calls the police, which, to be fair, is the correct thing to do. But of course, these people are so competent that they leave no trace that we're there. When the police get there, they break down the door. There's no one there. They do a joke here where they say freeze to the dog, and the dog freezes with his paw up, which... like, okay, fine. That's the sort of humor we're doing then.
That is exactly par for the course for the entire rest of the movie.
It's not even the last joke in the movie with the word freeze in it either.
Nope.
So the cops come over and he explains, because the mum comes home and Alex says, "Hey, I phoned the police because there was a guy in the other house," and then when the police came over to speak to him, he's like, "Hey, son, calling the police with a false claim is a very serious thing. You shouldn't be doing that." And everyone doesn't believe him. And I'm like, okay, so what they're going for here...
They specifically don't believe him because this house had, like, an anti-burglar alarm.
Yes.
And they managed to get by it. So that was their proof of, like, there was never anybody here because it's still in place.
Yeah. Which, to be fair to the police, like, there's no evidence of anything being taken. Everything looks orderly. The alarm was still functioning when they came in. So, I believe they don't think anything happened.
Yeah, same.
But they're like, no, this is a very serious thing. Don't do this. So obviously the arc of the movie, if you want to call it an arc, it's not even an arc so much. It's just at the end, it's the like everyone else is going to feel bad because they didn't believe him when he said there was someone there. And the fact that this happens twice, it happens again the next day. He sees someone in the house. He calls the police. This time, they're not able to leave first though. So we actually get this bit where the main villain is doing like a gymnastics thing where he's like up in the ceiling hiding from the police.
Yeah.
So
still hyper competent.
So
where did that go?
He calls the police again. Again, they come and they find no evidence. And this now they're taking it seriously. Like, son, this is twice in a row. You've called in a false report. You're in big trouble. And the mum's very apologetic. The siblings are making fun of him, saying, "Oh, this is going on your permanent record. If you call the police again, they're never going to come.
You've dragged down our family name, Alex."
Right? So, okay, fair enough. Right? We've set this up. So that's why the next day, and he's drawn his little map out. He's like, okay, they've done this house, which means this house is probably next. I'm going to investigate. So he uses the toy car itself with a camcorder strapped to the top of it to try and get evidence. He wants to collect evidence that these these thieving incidents are happening.
I want to take a little quick detour here.
Yes.
I saw a thing that apparently Scottish people cannot say: purple burglar alarm.
I mean, purple and alarm I'm fine with, but
you gotta say it all at once.
Purple burglar alarm.
I'll take it. Good enough. Anyway, the one thing that I
had to
wanted
really focus, though. I want to make that clear. I had to really focus.
One thing I wanted to throw in here is that very early on in this movie, we show that Alex has like a bunch of these little gadgets and tiny things that he just makes in his own time. So he has like an automatic fish feeder. He has this universal remote that he uses to mess with his neighbor's TV.
He's got a universal remote that he has like a booster scope on so that it'll fire across the street through the window, and he messes with like his neighbor's TV. Yeah.
Which I actually really appreciate, because that was one of my critiques I had with the original Home Alones, is that it never really gave me enough of a feeling that Kevin knew how to do all this stuff, that it kind of just came out of nowhere, that he was just this competent of setting up these crazy traps.
But to be fair, his traps were quite simple, and not only were they quite simple, it made sense that the things that he was trapping were stuff that the people entering the house were definitely going to interact with. Things like doors, windows. If it's a dark room, they're going to go for the light switch. Here, a lot of the traps rely on very, like, you know, like they have to sit in this chair. Oh, it's good that he decided to have a seat. Oh, this hook that's just dangling out in the open. Oh, it's good that it caught onto his coat, because that could have easily not happened.
I'm not saying the traps aren't even more like insane that they fell for any of them. However, I do like the idea that they took just that like one or two shots to just establish that he is the kind of kid who would do this sort of thing. That's my only little token of gratitude I'll give it here.
It's slim pickings, but I'll give it to you. So we get this whole big sequence where he's driving the remote control car around with a camera on top of it, and he's getting a live feed from the camera, which I thought was an interesting technological thing.
I had a toy camera that did that I was able to go around my house and it gave a live feed back to the TV. That being said, that was probably early to mid 2000s, so I'm gonna go ahead and say no to this.
I mean,
but
this is just a regular camcorder, though, that somehow he's getting a signal. Okay, fair enough. What gets me, though, is that obviously the camera's recording onto its mini DV tape that's in the camera, right? And the bad guys get that tape, so he actually doesn't get the proof. We'll talk about this whole sequence, but at the end of the sequence, he gets the camera back, and it doesn't have the tape in it. He's like, shit. And I'm like, you had a feed going to a tape. Why don't you just record it locally as well on a VCR? Look,
Alex is smart. He's a smart kid, but even he doesn't know how to functionally program his VCR.
Just have record. He's there. He's in the room. Hit the button, you little shit.
I mean, obviously the answer is because the movie would be over. But yeah, it just goes back to that sort of thing where the first movie was so tightly written. It had a reason for everything happening. And they just didn't do that for this one. They just said, he lost the tape, whatever, moving on.
Anyway, Alex's driving skills with this toy truck is something else. Like he drives it across into the house that's been broken into, right? And he goes in and he's drawn a little map from memory. Obviously, he's a friend lives here or something, so he's been in the house. He knows what the layout is, so he's drawn out a rough map. But he forgot the steps. There's like just 2 steps that go from the sort of kitchen area into the living room. And it's like, okay, it's just 2 steps. I buy that he'd forget that. It's a little detail. And he's like, shit, how do I do this with the truck or the toy car? And he pulls off like a little move with the toy car where he spins the and I don't believe that the car has this amount of control available to it, but he pulls off this little thing where he spins the wheels in such a way that it kicks the rug that's under the car down the stairs and makes a ramp for the car.
Yeah, I said, what's wrong with that, Pete? What do you mean?
Not only that, when he drives it down and around the corner and he sees the bad guy, rummaging through things, he angles the car up. It's like it's got a suspension control and it angles up to aim up at him.
Yeah, so I will at least give this credit is that they showed that earlier on where he drove the car over to his mom with like a glass of water on the back of it and he lifted it up. I think that's just what's special about this specific car is that it can like raise and lower its tires.
Okay. They established that it has that built in. Okay.
Yep. My favorite part though comes 5 minutes later during the chase scene talking about what this... No. I just want to say it here because it's about what this car is capable of. It can go through planks of wood and just shatter them.
Oh, it's very strong, yes. But the thing I did want to skip over, though, is that Alex is so good at driving this thing and being aware of like the surroundings that... So the car goes under this table, and the bad guy hears something, and he turns around, and Alex realizes that you'll see it under the table because of the angle, so he backs it up just like 2 feet, so that it's the perfect angle that the guy won't see it from his position. And I thought, this is obscenely good, like awareness of like the viewing angles here. It's next level stuff. Obviously, the bad guy is faking that he doesn't know it's there, and he sort of pops his head in like a little jump scare a second later, and he's like, "This is weird. The car we're looking for came up to us." But then, obviously, the whole scene from that point on is Alex trying to drive it away from them and make a daring escape.
There's a little subsequence here where he drives it away and it gets stuck under clothes in a laundry basket. And so he has to go around using his universal remote and calling the house in order to get the guy out of the room. So he's then able to drive his truck out.
This to me was the closest until later with the parrot, this was the closest they got to the movie thing from the first two, where he's playing because when the TV turned on, it almost sounded like it was going to be Angels. I thought this would have been a cool little callback if you actually had it be Angels with Filthy Souls on the TV. But they didn't do that. It was just some random Western or something.
It was probably a real movie, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. That would have been such an easy callback. That would have just been a nice little wink and a nod, See,
they would have... I feel like they probably only had the rights to that likeness for that first movie. They would have had to go back and tell him, hey, can we have you in the third movie again? But...
No, I don't think so. I don't think so if it's archive footage. I think if to do anything new, I think that's... Yeah, they have to pay him for it. But I think if it's literally just playing a clip of the previous movie, you can do that.
Maybe, but wasn't that a whole thing in Back to the Future 2 that Crispin Glover like sued for that because they used his face without his permission?
If it was like a photo or something, that's fair game because they're using a photo. But if like say if at the start of Back to the Future 2 they said previously on Back to the Future and showed some clips from Back to the Future, he can't do anything about that. It's literally been used as archive footage. It's just it's showing Back to the Future again.
I think it's also in how much they get paid as well. I think they do need to... They might not have to get permission, but they might still have to get royalties for it.
I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch of... Depending on contracts, I'm sure there's legal specifics to every deal out there, so there's no one size fits all. But I think in this case, because it's just playing footage again, it's the exact same footage, it's a problem. I know, I just watched like a bunch of Making It Alien 3 stuff the last couple of days ago, and... There was a whole thing where they were making like a dead version of Michael Bihn's character from Aliens, and they did this without permission, And it just so happens he sort of heard about it while they were making the movie and said, you can't do that. We'll sue you.
Right.
And because that's his likeness. And they said, well, can we pay you for it? And he said no. And then he regretted saying that. But then later on, they asked, hey, can we use your likeness and image just, as a part of the movie? And he said, yeah, sure, you can pay me for that. And he get paid almost as much for that as he did for starring in the previous movie.
Yeah.
But I think if they just used a clip of Aliens, that's fair game, because it's just the archive footage of the previous thing. I think that is fair game, but it's only if they use it in a new way. I guess you could argue that because it's playing in a TV in the scene, maybe that's technically different, but again, that's something for Hollywood lawyers to fight over.
I was going to say, this sounds like the exact sort of thing that strikes have been put up recently. Let's just...
Yeah,
it's a whole complicated thing.
It's a whole thing. So luckily the camera can see through the bra that the car is like behind when it's under these clothes. But
which, okay, I guess this is the best place to kind of put it. So the first two movies, there was like maybe one or two jokes that were like focused on the groin or anything like that. I feel like this movie just really, really ramped it up, where they're just like, nope, we're just constantly going to be referencing how people are hit and zapped and punched in the groin constantly. And then add on top of it, there's this weird obsession with showing underwear as well.
You mean later on when the sexy bad guy, because that's how they put. That's the thing. You've got the leader with the accent. You've got the tech guy. You've got the sort of British dumb guy, and then I can only describe the woman as the sexy one, because that's really all she. She looks kind of vaguely evil and sexy as she's saying things, and that's kind of her whole character.
Pretty much.
But she bends over later in the movie, and her trousers split in the back.
And that's, but then also in this laundry scene, like you said, there's a bra that it's peeking through. And then as the other bad guys get electrocuted later on, the backs of their things are
lightning
exposed.
Shoots out of a guy's asshole.
Exactly my point. Why were we so focused on this style of humor this time? It just feels so weird here.
Because they're hacks, that's why.
It's still John Hughes writing. That's the part that gets me. It is.
Okay, but how much of that's in the script, though, and how much of that is just like the director and the effects guy saying, "What can we do with this?"
Because that was my immediate thing of, as soon as I saw his filmography and I saw Scooby-Doo and Scooby-Doo 2, I was like, okay, I get it. There it is. That's the link.
Yeah, So anyway, there's this whole chase sequence where they're trying to chase this toy car. They actually grab it at one point, but then Alex rides it up like the woman's face, because she's holding it and it just goes flying up her face. And then there's a whole chase sequence where they're individually like jumping over hedges, trying to get to it. At one point the tech guy's in the car and he doesn't want to run over it because that might destroy the thing they're being paid for, the chip that's inside it. But it ends up, there's a whole thing here where Alex puts it in one backyard, and there's like a sort of snow ramp. It's basically like it's like a little sledding area they've got in this back garden, and he rides up that and does a jump over the alleyway into his backyard to get the car back. And it does this thing where the techie guy is actually standing underneath it and just sort of turns at the exact right moment so that he won't see it, and it goes over his head. Literally goes over his head.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that's it. Kind of felt like, with this one, okay, all the trap stuff has to come in the third act. And it still kind of does. They start the planning for the traps a bit earlier, of course.
Yeah.
But it felt like they wanted like a big set piece, and this toy car like chase was their big like sort of middle of the movie like antic set piece.
In comparing it to the last movie, this is the part where he's messing with the hotel people. This is the part where he's going through and just doing like tiny lighter things that are just kind of screwing with him a little bit. Yeah,
and then the bad guys at this point are basically, okay, it has to be a kid. It's a toy car. It's someone who we wouldn't have accounted for, and that makes sense that it's a kid, because, they probably looked into all the adults that live in the street, because they've all got, more records and things like that. So it's probably a kid. And sure enough, the woman just phones the house and pretends to be another mom and asks about a toy car, and is like, oh wait, bingo, we've got him. So that sets up that the next day is the Home Alone day. It's the day where he's going to have all the traps. And what gets me is that Alex like starts doing some of the traps the night before when his parents and siblings are still in the house, and there's like a whole joke at the start where the mum needs to get her coat and Alex is like, no, I'll get it for you, you go in the kitchen and do something, and it's because he's got like a boxing glove trap set up in the closet, and he's just having to like try. I was like, this is so weird that half of your traps are set up whilst the rest of the family is like getting up for work and school and sauntering about the house.
It's one of those things where I made the complaint last movie where they had all of the traps that he needed to put down were done in like 2 hours, and they specifically showed that in movie. I was like, that doesn't seem long enough. So then they decided, okay, well, we'll have him start the night before. But then they go through the whole problem of, dude, you've got like on every single exit here things that will kill people, and you're just going to let your parents and siblings walk out the door?
To be fair, most of the big ones he doesn't do until after they leave, because there's a second. This is my problem with this. Is there's 2 montages of him setting up traps. They do it once, and then they have them on and stuff, and then they do it again, and it's like, okay, I guess that's the whole thing. There's also a thing here where the woman of the bad guys comes up to the door with the dog that they've stolen from someone else, and he uses a dog whistle to like make the dog sort of circle around her and then like drag her down like the path, and that just kind of takes care of her before the mum leaves, and then the mum leaves, and then we get a second montage of him setting up all these traps. And when you see some of the traps actually happen, some of these would have taken so much time that I'm like, this is like so like, you could say the first movie was implausible if you want, but this is way more implausible. Like, one of the traps is like, it's the woman who gets involved in this one, where there's like an entire pathway that's got like thick layers of like a mud or something that she's walking through, and I'm like, this isn't just as simple as like putting some water down some steps. This is like, he's created like a trench that she's walking through.
In this second part, in this second setup, because the first setup he had all night to work, I was willing to accept whatever it is they wanted to do there. But in the second setup, which they specifically say is going to be like an hour, maybe 2 tops, he manages to unscrew and move his entire diving board that is attached to his pool over like 30 feet, and then use a riding mower to bring in a trampoline, cut a hole in said trampoline, and position that all perfectly for a later trap. If I, as a 30-year-old, were doing that in as fast as I could, I guarantee you it would take me more than an hour. And he still did other stuff.
And this is all in the snow as well. So it's like, it's not even like good working conditions.
And he has the chicken pox.
Which, by the way, they said that there's a storm coming in, right? That's going to happen during all this trap part of the movie. And I felt like there was never a storm. I felt like there was maybe a bit of snow coming down at most.
Yeah, I'll give it that. I mean, it's a problem of just showing it on screen. It didn't really feel like it was ever coming down hard, but it was always snowing.
Yeah, but it was like light. I would not call this a storm.
No. That's just a consistent flurry.
Yeah, so the whole thing with the traps here is that, like you say, the big trampoline thing, he's doing that in this hour. He's also doing this muddy trench outside. He's also setting up this elaborate thing with the weights and the big like trunk of books up top, because that could have been set up before his mum left. No,
definitely not. He's also then in the second thing set up not 1 but 2 electrical traps.
Yes. So the bad guys come up to the house. Long-haired guy goes up to this, and this is the thing. He puts some wires across one of the back doors saying "Do not touch like electric or high voltage" or something like that. And the guy just sort of like assumes that it's fake. Is like, kids are dumb. And then he goes to cut it and then electrocutes him. And it's his ass that has the lightning bolt come out of it when he's getting electrocuted. The other guy, the techie guy who's at another door at the side, decides to take a seat for some reason. And unfortunately for him, this seat's booby trapped and electrocutes him. And he's got like a grid shape now in his back for the rest of the movie. So that sets that up. He also is the one who walks into like the fish wire, which turns on a hose with cold water, which starts splashing him in the face. And all I could think was just step forward. Like, he keeps fighting with it to try and turn it off. And I'm like, all you have to do is take a step away and it won't be hitting you anymore.
I tried to start counting how many different contrivances there were in these. The things that felt like you either had to be God himself to predict, or it's just lazy writing. But by the time we hit the fishing wire, it just became too blurry of a mess of all of it. To some extent, is a contrivance.
Because the leader of the bad guys comes up to the long-haired guy, right, and says, "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" And he pulls like the wiring that's electrocuted. He just pulls the plug out from the wall, and he's like, "Hey, that's it. It's done. Don't be an idiot. Come on, let's try the door." And they go to the door, and he actually notices the wire going up to this like set of weights, right? A weight bar that's up above the door, and he's like, let's cut that. And he thinks he solved it, but of course Alex has accounted for this and has double booby-trapped it so that cutting that wire will release the big trunk of books, which comes out of the attic window, smashes through, comes down the house, and hits them, on the head. And all I could think here, by the way, is that he's just... Alex's own trap has obliterated this window upstairs. And I thought, you know what? In the first Home Alone, part of the movie and the charm of it is that the parents and the family never know what he went through, right? And that's this idea that he's went through it on his own, and it's this learning experience and growing up experience that's just for him, and his parents will never know about it. And all I could think was, is part of the way that worked is that all of his traps couldn't ruin the house. It's all stuff that he could clean up after, and, no one... So the steps might still be a bit icy. Whatever, that's just... the steps are icy, be careful, right?
It's no permanent damage.
Yeah, no one's going to think twice about it. This kid is obliterating multiple windows, like, through many of his traps. Just absolute chaos.
Yep.
The woman, meanwhile, goes to, like, another back door. How many doors does this place have, by the way? Because I feel like they all have their own door.
They're renovating. It's fine. There's 100 doors.
And she tries to do some gymnastics on the staircase going up to the door, and apparently Alex has accounted for this because the banisters just fall away, and she goes flying down and lands on her ass. And it's like, okay, I guess that's a thing. I feel like they keep... I think a problem with a lot of the traps in this part of the movie is that they keep kind of like outsmarting the obvious trap, but then Alex seems to have always been a step ahead and always thinks of what they're going to do instead. And that always seems to be what actually sets the trap off. Also,
I just double time with that is not only do we, because of that setup, need to have 2 traps for every actual trap there is. We need to have the one they avoid and the one that they actually fall for. But because there's 4 of them, they're playing so quickly. There's barely enough time to realize what in the hell has actually happened to any of them before we just cut away and cut to the next one and show, okay, now they're doing this now. It just is so rapid fire the whole time. Yeah, I think the woman puts her hand in a window to get in, and there's like a tub of like adhesive glue or something like that, like that's there. So that takes her glove. Likewise, when the long-haired guy breaks into a window and he puts his feet in, his feet go into these 2 toy boxes with wheels that are filled with this adhesive stuff. There's also, at some point in there, one of them pops their head in the window, and we do the hello thing, where he fires a water balloon that's filled with paint into one of their faces. Yeah, it's the long-haired guy, yeah. Yeah. The techie guy goes through the garage, I think it is, and he's dumb enough to think that these legs that are dangling down are the legs of the kid, even though they're adult-sized and not moving. Yeah. And it's actually a big, stuffed monkey that has, like, human clothes on for some reason, right? It's just something the family has for... Yep. Let's not question it. But he pulls it down, and this pulls down a lawnmower, which turns on. It's been rigged to turn on, and it comes down into his face. And then the joke is that it cuts some of his hair. He's got lines of his hair missing. And I'm like, if that lawnmower hit him in the face, he's dead. It's a slasher movie kill. There's so many points where they all should be dead, but that one was the one where I was like, okay, no, kid, like, this is murder. You have officially changed this to an R-rated film. There's no way around that. And here's the thing. Can I just ask the question here? Yeah. All the stuff with this guy, the tech guy, and the part of the house he's in, very quickly we see, especially when the long-haired guy... No, is it a tech guy? I don't know. One of them comes in a window and immediately falls through the floor. And that's the tech guy. Yeah, and falls through like 2 floors, and it's all rooms that are kind of empty, as if they've not been done
like being built, right? They're just like, there's floors, there's no like plaster
They're
or anything.
renovating.
Did they set that up earlier in the movie that they've got a whole section of the house that's been renovated? Because I don't think they did.
They didn't set up that there's a section of the house like on its own, but they did say that they were renovating earlier on. It was during the part where the phone calls were being traded, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, did we get disconnected?" And the mom was like, "Oh yeah, it must have been on our side. We're renovating."
Okay, she said that, fair enough, I guess, but I still think we should see this section of the house at least once before this third act, because this felt like such a weird cheat to me. All of a sudden, there's this big section of the house that is... Because I never got the impression there was a section that was unfinished.
We keep on cutting to the upstairs attic, which is also unfinished, and I wonder if that was supposed to be the idea that, like, oh no, see, they're still fixing things, but I always just consider an attic being unfinished as, like, acceptable. I don't think that's something that's really... So
because it turns out that there's, like, 3 floors of unfinished stuff all at the same, like, sort of side of the house, basically. I just thought that was weird.
I mean, my childhood home went through renovations. We built an extra, like, I don't want to call it a wing, but like an extra little addition to the house that was 2 floors that were all built at the same time. So it would have been that at some point in the process. But you're right in that it's poor movie making that we never actually saw that beforehand.
My critique is not that this wouldn't happen to a house. I get people add like sections, and if you're adding a section to the house, you're doing it for each floor. So yeah, you'd have that. But my complaint is that at no point do you see any of these family members like talk about it or walk into it or just establish that it's there and establish that, maybe there's some work tools lying around. Not that he uses any work tools in his traps. In fact, I'm questioning why he didn't now, to be honest.
Because he has so many toys, Pete. So many toys.
Yeah, so many toys. And of course, a big part of his plan is that the parrot and the mouse are going to do things for him.
Yes.
Which
so real
is
quick,
bullshit.
Before we get to the parrot and the mouse stuff, I do want to go back because there are 2 things that we kind of skipped over before the whole trap scenes that do come back in a big way.
Oh, go on.
So the number one is that when Alex actually finds this chip, he pops open the truck and he sees it inside there. He sees
of course, yes.
He sees text on there that says property of the U.S. Air Force. So he gives a call up to a recruiting office in town that says, "Kid, that's probably just a toy. Don't need to worry about it." But he gives the numbers anyway, which then flags an FBI agent who immediately realizes, oh, wait, he is the chip. We're going to Chicago. So that's the first thing that's a big thing. The second thing is that right before all the trap scene starts, the old woman across the street is given a call by Alex's mom and says, "Can you go check in on him? I'm just held up here at work." And so the criminals actually stop her, tie her up in her garage, and leave all of the windows and doors open. So she's like exposed to the elements of this snowstorm as all of this is going on. And Alex is aware of this. Alex is aware that she is being taken hostage or whatever by these criminals.
Yeah, she's freezing to death. Although, I will say, when we do see her, knowing that this has only been about an hour, I feel like she's a bit too on death's doorstep after 1 hour for me.
She's supposed to be like 90, so I'll give her that.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, hell, at one point, like, Alex has rigged a toilet to empty onto the long-haired guy.
No, he did not.
No?
That one, I will say, is sheer luck because as the guy, whatever happens to him where he falls down the stairs, his gun just goes off and fires into the pipe. Like, that one was just sheer bad luck on his end.
Apparently is full of diarrhea.
Yeah, someone in that house is not eating properly.
Yeah, because this is just liquid shit that is just drizzling all over him. And I'm like, okay. Also, when he falls down the stairs, he does this like really ridiculous like flip that just defies physics.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, he falls down the stairs and that happens to him. So he actually ends up taking because they're all in like white like camo to like blend in with the snow, except the leader who's still wearing his black jacket. But he actually puts on the 70s style suit that the monkey was wearing, just to get a fresh set of clothes. So that's what he's wearing for the rest of the whole thing. The bad guys are all in the house at this point. The leader gets the boxing glove to the dick in the closet, and his shotgun fires off. And then he throws away his shotgun in frustration afterwards. And I'm like, So you're just leaving this shotgun lying around in this family's house? That's a bit of a weird element that's just been forgotten about.
If they get the chip, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah,
they can leave all this behind.
And then he ends up swapping his gun completely on accident with this toy gun that's been spray painted black. Although, what's funny is that Alex has a second toy gun that shoots bubbles, which I noticed at the start of the movie when you first see it, because they set it up, and he pulls it out of a case, and I went, that does not have like a coloured tip to show that it's a toy. That actually looks very real for a toy gun. If he walked outside with that, he would probably get shot by the police.
Yeah. No, for sure. I don't know when that became U.S. law of getting the orange tip put on things, but this definitely feels like it should have been covered under that.
Yeah, so there's just a point, because at least the other one makes sense. He intentionally paints it black to make it look fake, or look real, I should say. Although that does not account for the bad guy thinking it weighs the same amount, because there's no way in hell it would.
Not at all. Also, eventually we'll get to the part where Alex does come across the real gun, and rather than use it for anything, he just immediately disposes of it. He just sets it down in a trash can. And I'm like, kid, you had a real good bargaining chip there. I'm not saying you should have used it, but you should have at least kept it.
To be fair, like, at his age, he probably did the right thing of just like making sure it was out of sight.
I agree, in the sense that obviously that is a real weapon and it is not good for a kid to have a real weapon. However, all of the other traps up to this point have been so much more lethal than any of Kevin's traps.
Yeah, except it's a cartoon, so none of them are actually dying.
Which is why I don't think that having a gun would have been a big deal either. It's just like, I don't know. Just shoots him and blows off his hat.
If anything, I am shocked that they even had him touch it, because there's a big thing in movies with kids, with them actually interacting with guns. And anyway, even in Terminator 2, there was a conscious choice never to have young John Connor actually fire a weapon, because they didn't want to have a child at 12 firing a weapon. So this is a conscious choice that's made, and it surprised me that he even touched it. But yeah, he just picks it up and throws it in the trash, basically. So they get upstairs, and there's a whole thing here where his pet mouse climbs into the pants of the techie guy, and there's a hole there because of one of the previous traps, and it's this mouse is sticking its head out. And this is actually one of the few things that feels like they're directly ripping off a moment from the previous films. So this is the scene in the first movie where the spider's on Harry's face, and Marv's like, hold still, Harry, I'm going to get it, right? Except here, the woman's like, hold still, I have to get it, and the tech guy's like, what? And she takes the bat or whatever she's holding and swings it at his crotch.
And they go too far with it. Just immediately, they have him do this like high falsetto note, and he's screaming for so long, and then the quote that I said from the beginning of "You smashed my winky," and it's just too much.
We have to address the fact that the grown man said it that way. He said, "You smashed my winky." What grown man, unless he's cracking a joke, which he is definitely not cracking a joke at this point, why would he ever say winky?
Because he is a 34-year-old virgin, and that's just how he is.
He's a... This is the thing. The answer to this question is because this is a movie made for little babies. And Home Alone 1 and 2, while they were family films, while they worked for kids, were not made just for little babies. This movie is made with logic that will only work for little babies. And that's what this was.
There's a difference between a family film and a children's film. Home Alone 1 and 2 were family films. This is a children's film.
Yes. So, yeah, there's a whole thing here where Alex gets up to the attic and he goes down like the little like elevator.
We didn't even say the parrot bit. They Buzz 2.0, whatever the guy's name is. He has a full poster of this woman in his room that Alex then cuts out and puts in the shower, and has the parrot singing songs, so that way the guy thinks that there's someone in the shower. And then there's no trap or anything. He doesn't get injured. He's just distracted. Yeah,
it's just a distraction. The big like final trap moment really is the trampoline bit. It's Alex gets outside and he shouts something that's clearly meant to sound like Kevin McAllister. He doesn't say horse's ass or whatever, but he says something like, "Oh, you filthy criminals.
You no good numbskull law-breaking criminals ain't gonna get me in there.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I'm shocked he didn't say before I called the cops, because that was what Kevin said. It was a very similar cadence the way he delivered the line. But the techie and the dumb guy get out onto the roof, and they're going to jump in the trampoline, and you realize what the trap is now. Is that they jump to the trampoline and they go through it because it's been cut, and they fall in the freezing pool. So they're trapped in this pool that is, half ice, and they're chattering. And when the police get them out later, they've got bits of ice like around their waist, and and the cops show up and say freeze, and they're like, "You gotta be kidding me!"
And you hear the sad trombone, the wop 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 wop.
The woman tries to go in the little elevator that's almost Kevin, that Alex took down to get out of the house. But Alex, of course, has removed the bottom of the elevator, so she doesn't even notice that there's a big hole, and just goes to sit in the elevator shaft and falls to the bottom and lands on her ass, and her tailbone is completely shattered, and she will never walk again.
Before, with the tech guy falling through 3 stories, landing on a toilet, I was like, okay, he's never going to walk again. But then he did. And then they show this woman falling down 3 stories down this tiny little tube of an elevator down the house. And when they pull her out at the end of the movie, she's all contorted up and like bent into position. I was like, what is this Willy Wonka bullshit going on here?
The only justification that she's not completely shattered her spine is that, I guess, because like her limbs are up against the sides of this elevator shaft, that it's maybe slowing the fall down enough that she's not getting the full impact. But I mean, I'm stretching. Yeah, I'm stretching there. Okay.
So at this point, he's made his way out of his own yard, and he's decided, okay, they're taken care of. I need to go check on the old lady across the street.
And he goes save her. Yeah, we're gonna be a little hero. And I noticed at this point that the main bad guy, the leader, had been kind of missing for a little bit. So he pops out here and says, "You've fallen into one of my traps. I was waiting for you here, you little shit." But Kevin pulls out his bubble gun that looks real. The bad guy realizes his gun's fake. And I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't he notice the weight of it as he's pointing at him? But whatever. So he just runs off. Like, the interaction with the villains here ends with this spy who's been wanted for the FBI for years runs away from a kid who he thinks has a gun. He just runs away. That's it. That's the whole thing.
To be fair, if there was a kid with a gun pointed at me, yeah, I'd run away too. But...
yeah, but you're not a spy who's been wanted by the FBI for years.
Exactly. This is as soon as they threw out the line, because it's happened somewhere in here. They threw out the line North Korea, like, oh, they're working through a North Korea terror organization. I'm like, all right, then none of this makes any sense anymore.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, because the FBI guy goes to the school, right, where Alex's mum is now, and then you've got the 2 older siblings, and they start talking to the older brothers, like, hey, we need to talk to your son here. He called the Air Force about a chip from a toy car, and the woman's like, oh no, that's my other son, Alex. And for some reason, like, the one thing the siblings do for him in this movie is when the FBI guy refuses to tell them what this is about, ScarJo gets up in his face and like sort of puts her hand in the door and says, "You ain't leaving, you shit. You're telling us what my little brother's into right now." And
it didn't even feel like it was for the brother though. It felt like it was more for the mom at that point.
Yeah, I can see that, but she says, that thing you're talking about is my little brother. So it kind of felt like this is like, okay, they've been mean to him the whole time, so now they're going to stick up for him and be concerned for him. And they're all shocked when the guy says, "We believe your son's intercepted a security chip that North Korea's after, that's going to change the face of the Air Force and the fighters and
warfare forever."
Yeah, and they all just have like their jaws a gap. Just because, this sounds crazy. So they're all rushing to get home to try and save Alex from the bad guys, but he's already like dealt with them. And so they get these 3 bad guys that are all in the house, and they're all injured, either in the ice pool or in the elevator shaft. And then it's just the main bad guy who's missing. But it turns out he's hiding in the little fake igloo in the backyard, which Alex has rigged with fireworks. And the parrot, who now, because the control for the toy car is on top of the toy car, the parrot is now driving the toy car on his own. He drives into the igloo, lights a match, and the bad guy tries to offer him a cracker, which the parrot does like. The parrot says, "I want 2. And he's like, "I only have 1. So the parrot lights the match and then drives out of the igloo, and the fireworks set off, and that alerts the police to where the bad guy is. So they're all caught. In the end of this movie, the family's all in the kitchen. The dad gets home from his business trip. And the end of the movie is the parrot driving in again into the room on the toy car, but this time the mouse is on the front of the car. So you've got this just ultra kiddie cartoony shit of the parrot driving this toy car on his own and saying shit, and the family all laughs and like, oh, that's our parrot, the crazy parrot that he is. The only thing I wanted to mention here is that the old lady's over, like, hanging out with them at this point because she's like thankful that, you know, Alex saved their life. She mentions that when she like got like presents or something like that at Christmas,
she had chicken pox.
Oh, chicken pox, that's what it was. When she had chicken pox, Hoover was in the White House, and I thought, is that the only tangible reference to Home Alone that you're going to make? Because Hoover came up in the hotel, he stayed in one of the suites.
That's such a stretch, but yeah, technically it is still a reference.
That's all I've got for you. And the movie ends with the bad guys getting their mugshots. The end. Yeah.
So one thing that I do want to throw out at you here, because I found this to be an interesting little bit of trivia, is that at some point in production, I don't know if it was pre-production, post, wherever, not clearly not post, but like somewhere in there, this was originally thought of as essentially a pilot for a TV show. Where I don't have any more details, but can't you just see it being a thing of like a cartoon version of these four villains that just keep on trying to attack Alex for whatever reason, and then there's like the cartoon version of the parrot and the mouse as well that do all these hijinks with it. Can't you just like see that happening?
Yeah, in a cartoon, sure.
Yeah.
But obviously here the parents are well aware of everything their son went through and are just like, oh, I guess that's all over. Okay.
Yep.
Like,
oh, and that's the other thing, is that the FBI is fully repairing everything to do with the house.
Yeah. But the mum should be like when she finds out that there's these like spies who are maybe targeting her son, she should be like, the mum in the first movie is more distressed that she left him home alone. This woman should be like screaming for her son's safety at this point in the movie. Yeah, which I guess the only thing they have is the main kid has to have a hot redhead for a mum. That's the only lineage we have between the two. Between
I can't wait to see when that's
3.
broken.
Oh god, yeah, we'll see in the 4th movie. Is there still like a redhead mum, or is that been abandoned? I think I want to say the one thing I know about Home Alone 4, other than that French Stewart's one of the bad guys, is that I think it is meant to be Kevin again somehow.
Is it?
Yeah, even though he's younger than the previous movies. It's just,
I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah, so we'll get to that.
Yep.
Needless to say, there's not a lot to recommend in this movie. The traps are hard to enjoy because they're too goofy and cartoony in the way they present them. You don't have villains that you enjoy seeing getting their comeuppance because they're not really characters. They're so bland that you just don't give a shit.
They're just cutouts. That's all they are.
The main kid has no charisma. The siblings are barely characters. It's like the only thing the dad does that's memorable is that he when he's leaving for the airport, he's walking away without his pants on, and Kevin or Alex is like, "Hey, Dad, you're not forgetting something," and that's it. That's all he's got.
Yeah, no, I think that this movie, the hardest thing that it had going against it is that none of the characters have like anything to them. There's not even the relationships between them, really. I mean, sure, we get this idea that the siblings are like hard on their brother or whatnot, but every other movie had the benefit of being set directly at Christmas time. And while this is very clearly winter, and this is before Christmas because there was still like, Christmas lights up and stuff like that, they don't do Christmas. There's nothing where they take a moment and say like, oh, Mom, I don't want chicken pox for Christmas, or, oh, I can't believe I'm not getting presents this year, like anything at all. It's just a winter movie at this point, and so they don't have that emotional heart to it at all. Yeah.
The only thing that feels unique about the movie, like a new idea, is the whole toy car kind of segment where he's driving that around and dodging the bad guys. Not since the 5th Dirty Harry movie have I seen such an exciting toy car chase.
I was gonna say, I do believe you titled our review of that of the best car chase, or the best toy car chase in cinema. Is this topping that?
No, it's not. No.
All right, fair enough.
That was funnier because it was actually like meant to have stakes and like, oh no, this car actually's got a bomb on it, so there's actually like a reason to chase it. That was way funnier, and it was funnier because it was in an even more inappropriate movie. Whereas this is in a dumb kids movie, and that's the problem with it, is this is just a dumb kids movie. Whereas Home Alone 1 and 2 aren't just dumb kids movies. I think that they go beyond that. They're better than that. This is just a dumb kids movie, and that's kind of it. So, David, what are you rating Home Alone 3?
Oh, God. That's a tough one. Obviously, I think that it is below the average mark of a 5. So the question is, how far below? I think I would give this one... I think I'll give it a flat 4. I can't really expand on anything besides what I've already said. It's missing everything that the first 2 Home Alones had that made it that little bit of extra something, whether that be the John Williams score, whether that be the emotional core of it, whether that be interesting characters. It's missing all of it. It's just not got anything going for it. The only thing that's getting it the 4 is that it is still a decently made movie. It's not like it's hitting like Neil Breen levels of incompetence or anything.
This was still theatrically released, and it feels like a movie that was released in theaters. I actually agree. I was going to go with a flat 4 as well. I think, I would sum it up as just not good, and I think that's where a 4 sits. Like, it's not painful to watch. There's definitely worse, and I suspect that this franchise might go to worse places beyond this, but this is a 4 out of 10 if I ever saw one. It's simply just bad, but not the most painful thing ever either, So
yeah. So in terms of the collection, clearly it's a cut above, yeah?
I think it's just a simple doesn't make the cut. I don't think it's painful enough to be cut steep or whatever.
Yeah, that's fair. Cut from the collection.
All right, well, there you go. That's Home Alone 3. Next time we'll be back with Home Alone 4, which I think is subtitled Taking Back the House. I could be mistaken.
God, I couldn't care less.
Because the 5th one's Holiday Heist, and then 6 is Home Sweet Home Alone. So, we'll see you next time for Home Alone 4. It's a completely fresh one for me. I just know that French Stewart from Third Rock from the Sun is one of the bad guys, and it might technically be Kevin McAllister again, even though it won't make any sense that it's still him. But hey ho, that's Collector's Cut. You can support us over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and get access to a couple of different monthly bonus shows. At $3 and up per month, you get access to the Criterion Cut, which is where we review some of the best movies of all time that have came from the Criterion Collection. And at $5 and up, you get access to Extra Reels, which is a show where we do the opposite of that. We do the worst movies of all time. So those are both monthly exclusive Patreon or YouTube member shows that you can get access to. So go check them out. And it helps keep the lights on, it helps keep the show going. Plus there's bonuses for other shows that you might be interested in as well. So go check out all that. But that is the show. And if you can't support us with some monies over there, by all means, support us for free by simply hitting the like button. It helps more people find the show. So or rate us on your podcast app of choice. But that is us, so thank you very much for joining us. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, and I left my Winky in San Francisco.